This is day 2, the stop at the Portway, and we're starting at the Hemlockstone where we finished day 1. This stone is of historic importance, but no one's quite sure why. As a child I was told it was a volcanic plug, but I've since learned that it was actually left over from quarrying. No one seems to know why it was left over from quarrying, but if you look on the website for the Portway, you'll see there's a link to the Hemlockstone on Wikipedia, which gives a lot more information about the 2 different types of sandstone, which you can see behind me. The bottom layer is weathering more rapidly than the top, which is why that sooner or later this thing will fall over, but probably not in my lifetime. Leaving the Hemlockstone, directly across from that, across the main road, is the ridgeway that carries Bramcote Hills Park, and that's what we're going to follow in section 2A of this walk. Down to the right, following the road, is section 2 as detailed in the Portway, Derbyshire Portway book. This is a standing stone on top of Crow Hill at the southern end or southeastern end of Bramcote Hills Woods. This surrounds a small hill, which is over to my right, and overlooks the valley, the Erewash Valley, to the west. Stones of this type with the strange hole in are found all along what is part of the known Portway route. But this is the first one that we found having left Nottingham. This site is most notable because it's really discreetly hidden between today's Bramcote Hills Leisure Centre. When we leave here, we'll actually be walking through the Leisure Centre grounds to get to our next part of the path. This is the top of the cemetery in Stapleford, and I'm stood right on what I think was probably the original Ridgeway path between Bramcote and not just Stapleford but Sandyacre. Over my right shoulder you can probably see in the distance Sandyacre Church spire, which is what we go right past in due course on a later part of the walk. Meanwhile, however, over to my left, over the shoulder halfway down the cemetery, is a phenomenon known as Bob's Rock. This has all the ideas of being a hermitage, but has a little more history behind it, which we'll come to in a few minutes. This is the top of the quarry above what is known locally as Bob's Rock. This is supposedly an output of stone where a Methodist preacher in the early 20th century summoned the good people of Stapleford to have a chat. These days it's at the entrance to an old quarry. No one's quite sure who owns the land around here, but it's been mostly taken over by local cyclists who use the whole areas a bit like a skateboard park. And it's not always accessible, depending on how well the fences have been maintained or locked up or whatever. Unfortunately today, despite having this new trackway behind me, it's very difficult to get down into the quarry on anything other than a mountain bike. But I've got some photographs which will appear on the website for this section of the walk, which is 2A, and we're only just off the top of the cemetery at Stapleford, where I showed you earlier. Here we are in the grounds of St Helen's Church in Stapleford. Behind me over my left shoulder is what's known as the Old Cross, just across the road from a pub which is also called the Old Cross. This particular cross is thought to date from around 800 to 850 AD, so it's an Anglo-Saxon cross. It was found in pizzas in the churchyard many years ago and reassembled in its present form, but obviously we don't know that's quite how it originated.